I have been in organization planning mode here. I spent the last few days taking inventory of all the purchases I've made over the last few years. Everything that I wanted to put on the boat, I wanted to take another look at it, and I've been kind of storing stuff all over the shop here. So I pulled it all down just to make sure that stuff that I bought a year or two ago was still worth putting on the boat today. And now that I got that sorted, I also spent some time over the weekend taking all my project lists from my little book here and putting it on a calendar. That's been very helpful. It's focused me and let me know that if I get everything that I think I need done project-wise, I should be able to get it all finished by the end of April. So we're shooting for an end of April splash date. This also was a really good exercise in figuring out the sequence of things. So some things have to happen before the other, and by putting it all down on the calendar here, I really was able to, figure that all out. I was also able to make sure that everything I needed purchased was going to either be purchased by or here by a certain date. So I think I got a handle on that. So all in all, I feel focused, well organized, and I think it's also given me a little clarity how I want to go and share things with you. So we're going to just do a project. I have, I think, 19 main projects that I need to get done to get it splashed. Inside those projects are about 108 tasks, so it's a little overwhelming. But if I do, 3 or 4 tasks a day, I think I can get it done by the end of April. We're going to get a project done. I'm going to share it with you and then move on right away to another project. And I'm going to get it out as fast as I can instead of trying to do a bunch of things at once. So in that vein, today we're going to do the project of installing the fuel system. So let's jump in the cockpit, get that started, so that by the end of this episode, we get it all finished.
You're watching Rebuild Pro.
We're doing the fuel system before we put any of the seats in. I don't want to be working on top and around those seats. Now, they live underneath of these storage boxes that we built into the back transom. This is a structural, integral part of the boat, but it's super thick, 1/2-inch fiberglass. This back transom wall is doubled up, so it's almost an inch thick here. Anyways, these fuel tanks are going to live underneath, and we are setting up for dual outboards. So even though it might not be my final power solution, at the end of the day I might go with a 115 or a 150. I would be kicking myself if I didn't set up with this dual tank fuel system and we went with the 60s. So that's going to entail 2 tanks, 2 fuel fills living on top of each gunnel, port and starboard, 2 vents, 2 fuel filter water separators, 2 starter batteries. Most of this is going to live in a little area underneath the gunnel here in these boxes. Let's just call it a utility chase. So that'll take up the first 1 foot by 14 inches by 22 inches deep. Any of the rigging and stuff will come through the interior box, keep things nice and clean, and then go out to 1 or 2 of the outboards through the boxes. So it'll be a nice clean setup. When I built these and modified them, I raised this flange. This flange is going to get a gasket, a nice thick wide gasket where these lids sit. These lids are going to have hinges on the back and toggles strategically placed on the front that will miss the jump seats. That will be able to open up really nice. Now the jump seats will get installed after all of this, and I might have to space them out so they don't rub against these top lids. That's another reason we're not putting them in right now. But lots of little details, nuances here. So let's just get in and get it done. It's not that complicated. It's just running hoses, running tubes, strapping things down. That completes the fuel system install, at least most of it. Of course, we gotta hook it up to the outboards, but I'm kicking that down the road for about a week or two until I get the outboards. Well, I'm still working on the two of the outboards, but then once we get them on the transom, we can make our final connections. We gotta fill it full of fuel and then test to make sure there's no leaks. So there's a bit left to do. But in terms of the general install, we're done. I think I have a couple takeaways and a couple key points of the install I'll share. So takeaway 1. I decided to strap these up. A little different. Most people strap things down, but I cut some holes in these fiberglass boxes, and the bottoms of the boxes are about a ½ inch thick, so really strong. And then I used these 1,200-pound ratchet straps to strap them up. And that's going to allow any standing water that comes down on the cockpit sole will flow into this bilge unobstructed. I am going to put some custom sized blocking underneath here. Maybe the one that's going to sit closest to the bilge will angle so the water will get directed that way. But that'll add a little bit of support. But I just like the idea of these being off of the sole, allowing air to allow things to dry out. Now the old red portable gas tanks that I used to have, I didn't have that problem because I'd be taking them out, frequent enough that any mold or anything, any scunge would be able to be cleaned up because I could see it. But these being more permanent, I wanted airflow to get underneath there so I could clean it and do stuff. The blocks will be able to come out, and then I can clean it whenever I want to with a brush. This is going to also have a shelf, which the jump seats will kind of sit on, but it's actually going to also work as kind of a step, so I can get into the back of the transom, and that's going to have a front face on it. So it will also kind of help if anything wants to really, spring forward here. This little face will keep anything from flying out. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. But takeaway 1, fuel tanks strapped up. Another thing that's definitely worth mentioning in the install are these fuel filter water separators. So I picked these up online, and I spent the 10 extra bucks, and I got the ones that have this primer button integrated on the top of the fuel filter. So much like the bulb that you would use normally to prime your outboards, this one has the fuel line coming to it. You press the old button and it primes the whole thing and then sends it out to your outboard. I've never used one. I figured for 10 bucks, why not give it a shot? So I'm gonna test it out here and let you know how it works today and in the long run. I decided to put the fuel filter water separators here in the center along this bulkhead of the storage boxes. One, because it was easier to install with one big screw, one big bolt. But two, when I started doing some testing of it over underneath the gunnel where I intended in the beginning, it just became... it was going to be a bitch to service, so it was just too tight in there and stuff. So I switched gears and I put it over here, and after doing a few dry runs of changing the fuel filter and the water cup, it's just awesome. So this is the right location. Everything is plumbed up and ready to go, and basically, it all just gets sent out these two ports and out to the outboard. The last, third, and final takeaway has to do with the rigging tubes. So I had to come up with my own solution for the cost and just because I want to really use everything that I have here in the shop. So I came up with my own unique little solution, but I'll tell you how I got there. Basically, when you're doing your rigging tubes, and what is a rigging tube? A rigging tube is just a tube that houses all of your rigging lines that are coming from your control or your fuel system, or even, mostly your control and your fuel system. And they all have to get put into a tube. One, that tube just cleans everything up. You are going to have quite a bit of extra slack so that your outboard can turn freely. So you don't want that just flapping around everywhere. So to have it in a tube is really smart. Plus, when you combine the tube with a flange, it should keep a water resistant hopefully watertight seal so that if your boat ever got swamped, water couldn't get in your tube and just get into your boat, right? So aesthetically it's good, and there's a practical purpose for a rigging tube. Now, you can go online and get yourself, you know, tons of different options for flanges. They range from 50 to 150 bucks, depending how chromy you want it. Tubes are by the foot, and sometimes you get them a package with an articulating head flange, which is really great. But you're looking anywhere for between 100 to 2 or maybe even 300 bucks for a single setup, right? I thought I could figure it out here in the shop. So the things to take note are, when you're going to find a tube, I would start off with a tube. Well, I would start off with your control wire. So I'm running this 14-pin mercury control wire. It has 1.25 inches, maybe even a little bit bigger head to it. So that's got to get through any tube. So ideally, I wanted to use this black tube with this clear section so I could see any water that got into the tube. But it just wouldn't fit. I went through different hoses, like vacuum hose and all different stuff, but the diameters weren't working for me when I tried to stick all this stuff through it. What I came upon that's ended up working for a couple reasons was this flexible dust collection hose. I liked it because it's clear. I will be able to see any water, standing water in it, but most importantly, well, between the head of this and my control cables for my throttle control and my gear select that have these little nubbins on it, and my fuel line, it all fits in here really nice. So that, once I knew the tube I wanted, I could go looking for an appropriate flange. So before I cut the hole, I went looking, and I had the option of some through holes. I had a couple of these, but it was just too small of a hole. I had some HVAC finishing head flanges, but I didn't like how I would have to glue those on all the time. We had some electrical options. I even had these little booby boots. You know, I liked them. Singly, it wouldn't be so bad, but when you combine them, yeah, no, just not going to work for me. So after going through all of that, I ended up getting into my plumbing boxes, and I found what we have here, and these are just floor drains. So they come, they're 3-inch diameter hole drains with a 2-inch interior diameter. And they just come with these top caps. So these are just a grid, and they click on and off, but they were easily to pop off. And yeah, they screw on. They have a rubber gasket, and you can even put a little Sikaflex on there. But I think they're just absolutely perfect. They're perfect because they installed easily. If they ever break, I know where to get them. I just go to Home Depot. They're like 10 bucks each, so I can get replacements easily. And most importantly, the diameter of this hose is absolutely perfect for the diameter of these drains. It's just meant to be. So that is going to be a great solution for me. Now, if I ever decide to just go with that single outboard, I can pull all these rigging lines through, curl them up, put them nicely bundled against the hull under there, under the gunnel, and you can go to Home Depot and get yourself a flat cover. They make those, and that'll just pop on there with a little Sikaflex, and it would cover it up easily. So win, win, win. Just thought I'd share that with you. Well, getting this fuel system done and within my scheduled time is awesome. It's awesome. That leaves me for next week, and we're going to tackle finishing off all the seats. So that's the captain's chair, the jump seats. We're going to get that shelf/stair done. A lot of details in the cockpit to finish that up and make it look nice. Something to look forward to. So I'm looking forward to that myself. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you if you're new to the channel. Please like and subscribe. Go back, watch some episodes, because I think they're pretty fun. I think they're fun, and they give you a really good taste of what it's like to rebuild a fiberglass boat like this. And if you're one of my subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in every week. It really lifts my spirits. So We got lots to look forward to. I'm going to try to relax this weekend and just enjoy it with the family and not come into the shop here and do too much with the boat. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just enjoy the family. I hope you enjoy your family, and I can't wait to see you next episode at Rebuild Projects.